Hello and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to learn what is a switch statement and how we can use switch statement. So first thing first, what is a switch statement? So switch statement is basically a control statement which is used to control flow of execution. The second point is the switch statement is a selection statement that allows us to choose different paths for our code to run. Now the third thing is that a switch is alternate to the if else if. We can use switch instead of if else if. Now here is the syntax for switch statement. In switch statement we have an expression which is used to check for the equality of different case values, and that expression must be of byte, short, int or char. Only these four data types can be used for expression. We cannot use string here, we cannot use boolean here. We can use only these four data types for the expression. Now we have a case value which is used to check for equality with the expression, and after that we have a statement sequence which is executed if this case value match with this expression, and after that we have a break which is used to terminate this switch statement and jump out of it. So break is basically a jump statement we are using here. Now we can have multiple cases. I can have a case value 2, then some statement sequence and break, and I can have n number of case values. And at last I have an optional case here which is the default, and the default is executed if none of the values of case match with this expression. So this is the default case which will be executed if none of the case value is equal to expression. Also, one thing you must keep in mind that the case values must be unique. You cannot use two same case values for different cases. That value 1 and value 2 must be different. Let's see how things work. Let's say I have a variable for this expression. I am defining a integer variable as a. Let's say the name of variable is a, and I am assigning it a value of 1. Now I will use switch, and I will provide the expression as parameter, let's say a, and then I define a block as per syntax. Okay, so now as I have defined a block, let's define some case values. Let's say I have case 0, and as per syntax I will put colon after it, and then I will define some task which needs to be done when case is 0. Let's say I print a line here, and it's saying that I is 0. Now as per syntax I am using break here, so that all the statement after this case doesn't execute one after another. Now I have case 1, and I will print something here. Let's say it's I is 1, and I'll use break after it, and let's say another case which is case 2, and let's say task needs to be done is a statement which is I is 2. Now I will use a default case here, and I'll use something like this default case, and I will use a statement like this is default case. Okay, here we go. So let's see what happens when I run this program. So here we got the output that I is 1. So as we can see that the value of expression is 1 that we have assigned to this expression, or we can say this variable. So value of a is checked for equality for these all cases. Let's say case is 0, so in our case is not 0, so this will not be executed. So the next case is 1, so actually it matches with our expression, so this case is executed. So in our output we see this statement which is I is 1, and after that this break executes and we get out of the switch. Now let's see how this default block works. Let's say I have a value of a as 10. So as we can see, it's neither 0 neither 1, and it's not 2. so our default case will be executed in this case. So if I save this and run it, here I got the output that this is default case, as the value of expression doesn't match with all the cases I have specified here. Now there is another scenario that I want multiple cases to be executed with the same statement. Let's say I have a case as 10. So in this case, if the case is 10 or 0, then this statement will be executed. Let's see what happens if I run it. Okay, so here I got the output as I is 0. So as the case is 10 in this case, but corresponding to this case we have only one statement which will be executed in case we have a value as 10 or a value as 0. So let's say I have a as 0. So if I run it, then I got the same output as I is 0. So in this case I have multiple cases, but those cases runs for a single statement, and then I have break, so I get out of the switch. Now let's see what happens if I don't use break here. Let's say I have a value as 1, so this case will be executed. So let me remove this. Okay, and I am commenting the break after each case, and if I run it, here I got the output that I is 1, I is 2, and this is default case. So in this case all these statements are being executed, and as you can notice here that I have not put break after case 2. Let's see what happens if I uncomment this break and use the case 2. Here we go. So I have assigned a as 2. So let's see what happens if I run it. Yes, so as we have not used break after the case 2 statement, so that's why this is default case is being executed. So if I put a break after it and save it, here you can see that I is 2. In this case this statement is not being executed as we have put a break after the case 2. So in this way you can see the use of break after each cases in the switch statement. So as we have discussed earlier that you can use switch statement in replacement of if else if statement, but what's the drawback of using switch statement? The first thing is that you can only use expression of these 4 data types. You cannot use boolean, you cannot use strings. So this is the first drawback of using switch in case of if else. But if we talk about efficiency, then switch is more efficient than if else if statement. So this is all about switch statement.